weekend, match day today. I do miss having midweek games. It's a shift really with your mentality and how you approach your Mondays. Do you know what I mean? So right now my games are Saturdays and Sundays, which it can be mentally quite tiring. It can be quite tiring. Something that I'm always trying to remind myself, even though it makes me sound as if I've got no feelings. I have got feelings. I do get happy with wins. But the challenge is that I'm in that mentality. I'm in that mental space of just not being too happy and not being too sad. So I think that sometimes when you're around players or their families, and for them it might be great. It's great, and it's great for me. But I'm always thinking of the other side, which is when it is not working, or when we can't disguise certain things which we're trying to improve. With results in games, I think that it does. A convincing win does hide the areas that you recognise as a coach. It hides the areas that you recognise as a coach you need to work on. We need to improve that before we meet this type of opposition. And I was explaining to one of our players today, before we started the game, about the importance of shutting out the noise. Because I'd noticed that the player was often indecisive, and it's driving me crazy. I was like, why is this player always taking such a long time to make a decision? In possession, out of possession, transitions. I was like, make a decision. And I realised what it was, so I try my best to take moments of just decompress. In the decompression, you just kind of empty stuff out of your head and bring in new stuff, new useful things. So I had a little bit of a reflection and a little bit of decompression. And for me, what I recognised would be an influencing factor on the indecision in one individual player would be that the parent is saying this during the game, or the parent's face is saying this during the game, and the game is the game, and then Coach Helen is saying this during the game. So this player is in 3 moments, regardless of the moment of the game. This player is in 3 moments. Gestures or words from the family member, moments that are occurring and unfolding in front of them, and then the coach. I don't talk as much as I used to, but when I am there, I think it's fairly obvious that I'm looking for something to be done, which maybe I've already talked to the player about. So when it doesn't happen, I'm like, what is this? What are you doing? I don't always say something, but I know that my face says something. But I spoke with the player about shutting out the noise, and sometimes even the coach is wrong. The most important thing is that you don't make no decision. The most important thing is that you recognise the amount of time it's taken you to compute. We can't get that time back. The moment has passed. Something else is happening now. So shut out the noise. Firstly, you cannot be getting distracted by your parent. You can't. That has to stop. So I'm not yet going to... I said to the player, I can speak to your parent, but I want to speak to you first. Shut out the noise over there, because that's the first thing that's got to stop. Find a way to just reduce how much attention you give to that area. And then sometimes you might even have to ignore me to enable yourself to make a decision. No decision is not what I'm looking for. It's not progressive. I need to see you make a mistake because of your purpose, not because of a lack of foresight. Not what I'm looking for. It's not progressive. I need to see you make a mistake because of your purpose, not because of a lack of foresight. Something's occurring in front of you. Show an awareness that it could go that way or that way, and then you got to act. No action is that's a different sport. Do you know what I mean? It's not this one. And hopefully the player understood. And so when we get these results, today's result was amazing. However, that result has come from weeks and weeks of work, weeks of individual conversations, of individual development planning, of observation. Observation is so important for coaches because we're emotional as well. It's an emotional sport. We love the sport so much, or we wouldn't do it. It's not like we're getting paid loads and loads. Do you know what I mean? You don't do it because of the financial remuneration. You do it because you're supremely passionate about it. So, don't get too high. That's for the families to do. And don't get too low. That's also for the families to do. And for us, we have to manage the players not becoming like us too much, because I'm a little bit, you know, I can be a bit dour. You wouldn't know whether my team won or lost. But what I'm looking for is performance, because I'm aware that the players are on the clock. Do you know what I mean? So this time next year, they're about to not become my players anymore. So, like today I went to tryouts, and the players from our other branches, they're there trying out for the higher level. And so you want to see that those players were the players that you had 2 years ago, and they're showing those competencies naturally without you having to screw your face up, or do you know what I mean? So when I'm working with these players, I'm not getting too high and I'm not getting too low, because I need to see the progressions, I need to see the thought process. Even if they can't physically do it, they need to show an intent. So regardless of what the score in the game is, and I mean that, even if we lose, I'm not necessarily looking at what the families are looking at, which I think perplexes quite a lot of my families, where, especially if we lose a game, and my reaction is about something different to what they think, because it's like, well, we've been working on this for 3 weeks. In different ways, we've been working on this concept for 3 weeks, or we've been working on understanding this for the entire time we've worked together. So, that was a loss, but those are the gains. So it might be down to me communicating differently. It might be down to just a shift in the culture in terms of people understanding what the purpose is of the game, you know. But I definitely always try my best to make sure the players understand that they're on course, you know, they're doing okay, and I'm not always right. But me, I don't get too happy, I don't get too low, and I do share that with the players just to manage them so that they don't become too emotional, you know, because they've got that drive home with their families, and if they get too high because everyone else is too high, it might mean that the longer process might be too challenging for them.